welcome back to part 2. We're going to continue the story now. "Oh, pull him in, you stupid creatures!" Lila cried. "Over the end, not the side!" One of the fishermen heard her and hauled the man over the stern to lie in the bottom, flopping and gasping like a fish. Meanwhile, the boat had drifted to the side, and Lila put her hand out to stop it bumping. As soon as they saw her, the fishermen nudged one another. "Look," said one. "Go on," muttered one of them. "You ask her." "No, it was your idea. You do it." "It wasn't me, it was Chang." "Well, he can't say anything anyway. He's still full of water." Finally, one of them snorted with impatience and stood up, making the boat rock alarmingly. He was the stoutest man on the boat. That means he was quite short, and he was quite round, rotund, and he was quite fat. And by far the most impressive, for he wore an ostrich plume. Now, a plume is a group of feathers together that would have been on his turban at the top here. Nodding in his turban, and an enormous black moustache, and a tartan sarong. "Miss," he said, "would I be correct in supposing that you were hoping to cross the river?" "Well, as a matter of fact, I was," said Lila, and he tapped his fingertips together with pleasure. Okay, so the word stout is there. We've talked about that, haven't we? So stoutest is an adjective, stoutest. And the definition is a rather fat or heavy build, thick, short and strong. So quite small, round and rotund. The tree stood out from the others as it had the stoutest trunk in the forest. So other words, the synonyms that mean the same are thick, short, portly, fat and round. Let's continue our story. "And would I also be incorrect in supposing that you had a little money?" "A little, yes," said Lila. "Could you take me across? I'll pay you." "Look no further," he said proudly. "Rambashi's river taxi at your service. I am Rambashi. Welcome aboard." Lila wasn't sure why a river taxi would have the name The Bloody Murderer painted on the bow, and the bow is the side of the boat. Now, all boats have a name, and they all have the name painted on the side of the boat at the front. Nor why Rambashi would be wearing no less than 3 daggers on his belt. One straight, one curved, and one wavy. However, there was no other way to cross the river, so she stepped aboard, trying to avoid the man who'd been saved from drowning, who was still lying dripping in the bottom of the boat. The others took no notice of him at all, and rested their feet on him as if he was a roll of carpet. "Cast off, my brave lads," called Rambashi. Lila sat in the prow, that means at the front, and held the sides apprehensively, and she was a little bit scared, as the Bloody Murderer swayed out into the current. I wonder why the boat was called the Bloody Murderer. What kind of people do you think these fishermen are? Do you think they are fishermen? Do you think there might be something else? Let's see. Behind her, she could hear the clash of oars as the blades banged together, and the cries of pain as one man's handle struck another man's back, and the groaning and cursing of the half-drowned man trying to regain his seat. But she didn't take much notice, because there were plenty to look at on the water. There were dragonflies and hummingbirds and a family of ducks out for an afternoon cruise, and crocodiles practising looking like logs, really still, and all sorts of things. Presently she noticed that the rowers had stopped talking, and the boat wasn't rocking unsteadily, as it had been when they were rowing. In fact, it was drifting. And the oarsmen weren't entirely silent either. She could hear whispers. "You tell her." "No, I don't want to. It's your turn." "You've got to. You said you would. Let Chang do it. It's about time he did something. He's not fierce enough. You do it. Lila turned round. Oh, for goodness sake, she said. What are you? But she didn't finish the sentence because of the sight that met her eyes. All the rowers had put down their oars, which were sticking out in all directions, and each rower had tied a handkerchief over his nose and mouth, and they were holding daggers. And Rambashi was holding two. They all jumped slightly when she turned around, and then they looked at Rambashi. Yes, he said, fooled you, ha ha! This isn't a river taxi after all. We are pirates, the fiercest pirates on the whole river, and we'll cut your throat as soon as look at you. And drink your blood, one whispered. Oh, yes, and drink your blood, all of it. Hand over your money. Come on, come on, come on. He waved his dagger so vigorously that the boat rocked and he nearly fell out. Lila almost laughed. Pay up, said Rambashi. You're captured. Your money or your life. I warn you, we're desperate men. Goodness me, that was a bit scary, wasn't it? Okay, what I'd like you to do now, children, is we're going to pause the video here, and I want you to have a go at answering these questions for me. Use the text, look back, find that evidence in the text. Can you see the evidence? Can you find it? Can you retrieve it? Can you infer it? Have fun with doing those questions and enjoy. You take care now.